Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Now, it's not too very often that we talk about comic books on this channel, mostly because the state of the modern comic book industry is absolute trash outside of a lot of the indies out there that are absolutely smashing it out there with their million-dollar campaigns and all the rest of the wonderful success that they've got out there. Well, one of those ones that's out there in the more traditional, I guess, mainstream comic book industry out there would be none other than the new Transformers comic out there. Yes, part of the Energon universe coming from Skybound. And boys and girls, as a guy who has read all six of the first run on this new series, it is absolutely incredible. The artwork on it is phenomenal. It is top tier. The characters are who they are exactly supposed to be. Optimus Prime is the hero he's supposed to be. Megatron and everybody else involved with those guys are just absolute straight villains. It is crazy. It is harsh, and it is definitely not necessarily it is just a great all-around comic, and it gets edgy, and it gets raw, and it gets downright showing you that evil is evil. They are wrong, they are bad, and they are all kinds of horrible things. And now, ladies and gentlemen, because guess what? Not only did they put a fan in charge of the new Transformers series over there at Skybound over the Energon universe, but it is now outsold Batman. Ladies and gentlemen, it has outsold every other single DC comic that has been published out there, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Transformers has now outsold Batman in the monthly sales, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the worst part about that is that should show you not only a credit to how good this new Transformers comic is, which we're going to show off some of the art on some of the covers here in just a second as well, but also the absolute abysmal state of modern DC comics that not even Batman or Superman, for that matter, can outsell a bunch of bots that were designed to sell a toy line, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to check out this article from bleedingfool.com, getting all of the juicy details, see exactly what kind of information we've got as far as the numbers on this. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share it from all your time, share it with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls. And make sure you leave us a comment in the section down below, letting us know what you think about this. Have you checked out the Energon universe? Have you checked out the new Transformers comics? Have you checked out the new G.I. Joe? If you haven't, I highly recommend it, but let us know in the comment section down below if what we talk about in this video makes you actually excited about that kind of stuff, and if you'll check it out if you have not already. And if you have, obviously, let us know what you think. So report, new Transformers comics outselling every single DC comic. So this is according to Celebatron. The latest Transformers series from Skybound appears to be outselling any and all current DC comics published. The Skybound comic is currently beloved by many fans and critics, so much so that it won the prestigious award at the Eisners, the best continuing series, equivalent of Best Picture at the Oscars, and Best Writer/Artist. And honestly, those are solid awards that it absolutely deserves, boys and girls, because look at some of the art on some of these covers over here. Like, you got to zoom in a little bit over here, but I mean, this is the cover art for the first issue, and this is an incredible issue, boys and girls. I won't go into too many spoilers or any too many in-depth stuff, but you get to see Megatron be the absolute hero he is, saving people out there that he knows nothing about in any way, shape, or form. He is being 100% absolute hero, and it's so incredible to see. It's exactly the kind of one that you've always wanted to see Megatron as, and it's just, some of this stuff is just a lot of fun. You get to see a lot more of the more comics, but I mean, this stuff, look at this right here. Some of these images are just absolutely incredible, and of course, the whole thing is being silly and dumb on us right now, but I mean, look at some of these covers, boys and girls. It's just absolutely incredible. You've got some interiors here on the artwork. You've got some incredible, wonderful little, they're showing off some of this stuff off here. We won't show it up, but I mean, look at some of this stuff here. This is an absolutely incredible artwork on this stuff, boys and girls. The interiors look great. The covers are amazing. The artwork absolutely deserves the award that it is getting over here. And like I said, the writing is top notch. It is really, really good. And that's the other thing too about this. If you get into this first issue, when you read all the way through it, read the little note, the letter that's from the writer and the creator and the show and the runner of this current series right now, and listen to his love letter. It is a love letter to every Transformers fan out there. It will make you feel joy. It will make you feel hope again for a comic book series, because this is a series being written and run by a fan. He talks about his love of Transformers as a kid. He talks about his favorite toy of Transformers and how everybody lost the exact same part. And it was the part with Optimus Prime and everything else. And it was just, you could tell this guy was a fan, and seeing a fan finally be in charge of something and be able to pull it off and do it right in the most excellent and wonderful way that his has. Yes, this absolutely deserves to outsell Batman and every other DC comic that they have published out there, boys and girls. It is absolutely incredible, and it deserves these Eisner Awards. It has got to. When it comes to fan, well, comic shops have such a great demand for it. In the latest sales charts for the month of May, the 8th issue of the series outsold every single comic published by DC that month. Yes, Skybound, boys and girls, a comic book company you have probably never even heard of unless you're a hardcore comic book fan out there. Skybound, the closest you can get to an indie as far as the mainstream kind of legacy corporations out there are concerned. Skybound is outselling DC Comics. Transformers is outselling Batman, boys and girls. That's insane. And yes, that includes Batman, which is DC's best-selling comic and character. And why? Well, if you've read any of the modern Batman and you've seen how Batman is literally talked down to and dressed down by Selina Kyle and the rest of the Bat family, well, you'll probably understand why nobody's reading the Batman comics anymore. And of course, Bleeding Fool over here goes on to talk about how we don't actually get any real sales figures, right? Because the comic book industry doesn't publish those anymore. Why? Because we know the abysmal state of the comic book industry. It's the same reason why a lot of the streaming companies out there won't publish their actual real numbers from behind the scenes, because they know if we actually got a hold of the real actual data out there, we'd be able to completely and totally destroy them even worse than what we do already with the publicly available data from Nielsen and Samba and all of that kind of stuff. So if we had something like that for the comic book industry, we could show you how abysmally bad things are. We could show you that independents out there like Eric July and probably even our friend Jason Sandberg and our friend Hojo doing the mythical stuff out there, we could probably actually show you that a lot of the guys in the indie sphere are currently outselling and outstripping the pace by DC, Marvel, and all of the rest of the big names out there, the former big names in the comic book industry. So that's one of the things that I think that goes on. It's one of them situations where they go on to talk about how the fact that a lot of this stuff is they're very reminiscent of the originals out there. They haven't changed much of this, and they're kind of saying this is kind of a bad thing to a certain degree. But talking about how the fact that like he's still just a Soundwave is still depicted as a tape recorder robot instead of trying to make him like a CD player or something like that. And honestly, it's one of them situations where that's what the fans know. If you tried changing Soundwave into something that they didn't recognize, that wasn't the tape deck player that we all knew from way back in the day, then you're gonna have a lot of outrage. You're gonna have fans upset. And this is a series that is trying to recapture the nostalgia, the love, the awe that all of the Transformers fans had out there when they were reading the original comics, when they were watching the original animated series, and when they were going to see that movie that broke so many kids' hearts when they actually went out there and saw it. And that was one of the things that made Hasbro realize how much more than this just being a toy line the Transformers really was. And all of the fans have made this something into absolutely amazing. And now this new comic out here has made it to where that it's absolutely out there outselling Batman and all of the rest of the DC comics. And it's one of them situations here. As for outselling even Batman, well, let us decidedly take a moment to note again how sad it is that Superman continues to be marginalized in favor of a series with a dark emphasis. Crybabies. All because of some of the worst writers and editors brought everything to shambles in the early 2000s. That is also true. And honestly, I can understand where you're coming from, whereas Batman's the #1 seller and Superman's not. But that's because they went after Superman first. They destroyed Superman faster than they did anything else because he was the Boy Scout. He was the cherished hero. He was that kind of thing. He was what you now see Optimus Prime in this Transformers series, in this Energon universe, because you see him as that hopeful, optimistic, I will sacrifice myself for everyone else. If it saves even just one person, I will gladly sacrifice myself. That's why this stuff is going so well. That's why it is selling so well, because it represents the optimism, the hope, good guys being good guys, bad guys being bad guys, good versus evil, good wins out, evil loses, and that's what the Transformers comic is representing to us, all of it. It gives us hope with disastrous dumpster fires, and in the face of unsurmountable odds, there is overwhelming optimism and hope that no matter what happens, we are going to do the right thing. We are going to go forward with this, and we are going to bring the bad guy down. That's what good storytelling was always supposed to do. That's what good comics were always supposed to do. And that's why Transformers is a success over there at Skybound, because that's what they're doing. That's why DC fails. That's why Batman fails. That's why Superman fails. That's like name your other favorite DC character. That's why Marvel fails. That's why you can't even get decent numbers out of things like the X-Men and Captain America and all of the rest of these stuff that should be top sellers over there. Because evil people out there have wormed their ways into seats of power inside of our pop culture and media industry and have gone out of their way to destroy things that they never had any love with to begin, that they only wanted to use as an agenda and to crush any kind of hope and beauty that they could find in the world. That's why they make all of our characters so ugly now. That's why they do horrendous things to Superman. That's why they dress Batman down in his own comics. And the Transformers comic and the Skybound folks out there, they're like, yeah, screw that noise. We're not doing this. We're hiring a Transformers fan, and we're making Transformers for Transformers fans again. We're not pushing an agenda. We're going to show you gruely, gnarly art that pushes the edges on things that might not necessarily be so child-friendly, but we're going to show you the reality of things, and we're going to show you heroes being good heroes, and we're going to show you villains being villains. And that's all we ever wanted. That's all anybody ever wanted, was good storytelling, a good hero's journey. Is it fun every once in a while to have a offshoot, crazy kind of, anti-hero character? Yes. But when your whole world, when your whole universe, your whole creative talent becomes nothing more than that, and even worse, dressing down the actual optimistic and incredible, hopeful characters out there, then you're going to tune fans out. If we want depressing stories with an agenda, we'll watch the news. We'll watch politics. That's not what people come to comics for, and that's never what people came to escapism for, which is why you've lost DC, Marvel, the Batman writers out there, and Transformers and Skybound is absolutely kicking your ass in the sales, and they deserve it. Because as I've said a million times on this channel before, you make the fans happy and will make you rich. And Transformers, Skybound, and their Energon universe has done exactly that. So shout out to them, and cheers and congratulations on all of your success. Because Transformers, something that started out as nothing more than to sell a toy line, has now outsold the Dark Knight, Batman himself, and all of the rest of DC Comics. Cheers to Transformers. And DC, after all, you get what you deserve, and you did it to yourself. Go check out Transformers in the Energon universe from Skybound. It's great.